Welcome back. My name is Cinta. Hajime means just welcome in Japanese. I lived in Japan. I'm actually wearing kimono right now. I'm wearing kimono. The kimono is a very similar kind of like garment that you'd find also in China. It has a similar look to it. This is definitely a wedding kimono. You can see that the sleeves are longer. I am wearing it inside out. It should be worn with the design on the outside, but hey, it's like, I figured since it's Valentine's Day, and then we've had Black History Month and the NFLs and Chinese New Year's, that's, well, the group that won obviously was in the red, right? So we watched the NFL event yesterday. It was pretty interesting. I think my husband was vouching or voting on or teaming. He wanted the 49ers to win, which is they were supposedly the underdogs. And I think they should have won, but you know, things have happened and we go with the flow. You know, Taylor Swift is dating. So the Chiefs won. Taylor Swift's boyfriend is Travis Kelce. I think a lot of things were happening. Taylor Swift won big time at the Grammys, which becomes like a big thing. And then you have the Chiefs winning last night, and I think there were like lots of things going on there. We were thinking the San Francisco 49ers were going to win because they started off strong, right? So that was like we actually went over to a friend's place to watch it. And halftime, the main guests were Alicia Keys and her. Her plays the guitar. She's actually very good. And then we also had the main singer, who was Usher. Now, my personal opinion on stage, there were a couple of glitches with the sound engineer. I heard it myself. My husband works for CBS News. So he even said, yeah, there were things going behind the scenes that were not quite as accurate as they should have been, and the sound engineering was the biggest concern. His company actually was the company, CBS News is where he works. So they were the ones that were hosting NFL Super Bowl. I think next year it's going to be a different. CBS was taken over by Paramount, so they've like connected. He works for CBS as the IT specialist, and he also does like sound and all those other things. He didn't go. He was actually planning. I think the initial plan was for him to go, but it didn't work out that way, which is okay. That's fine. I still had him around, which was great. I loved it. And yeah, that was basically. It was just a very interesting, it was a very good show. I loved like Alicia Keys' outfit. She had the best red beaded outfit ever. I loved it. And the piano was outstanding. I loved the red piano. It was so cool. So obviously I'm not Alicia Keys and I do not have anything that she has Far and Beyond. She did play the song that I'd originally played, which was, in fact, I did have one of a student of mine performed in front of her for her school. So it was really like, it's like just a nice little like full circle type of moment. So they were wearing blue, and I have clips of the TV sections. I think I'm allowed to use those. They're not great, but I don't want to take any chances of taking the original. I wouldn't be able to in the first place. So blue was being used a lot. Red was obviously on stage for Valentine's Day, and then you had hip hop and R&B was represented for Black History Month. So this has been a mix mash of celebrations here in the United States. We have Black History Month, then we have the NFLs, and then Valentine's Day comes after. Well, it's coming up this Wednesday, right? So there are all these things that are going on at once, and the Grammys were just before the NFL. So it's like, so you have, okay, so let's start over again. So we started off with Black History Month, Grammys, Chinese New Year's, NFL, Valentine's Day. It's a lot of holidays in one, but the one thing that links everything together is the red. Red was the color shed through what had happened in the United States through history. I'm not going to get into it, but flavoring and all that stuff. I don't want to say too much because It's another controversial thing. My family also came from a background not from the United States, but in South Africa, where that was in fact an existing kind of situation on my mom's side of the family. So there's another side to, it's not just the United States that went through it. Overseas, other countries have actually gone through this as well. So I'm putting it out there because I think it's important for people to know that it's not just an American thing, it is a global thing. Okay, going back to Alicia Keys as a performer, I had actually played the Alicia Keys piece, If I Ain't Got You, which was the song that she opened up with, right? With Usher. And it was super cool. I thought it was like a great... These particular colors, the winning team was red. I guess the colors of the lights were actually blue and red. And then the team that didn't quite win, unfortunately, had these colors, this and gold. I was hoping that this was the group that was going to win too. I was vouching with my husband too. So I just wanted to give you just a recap of that whole thing. I think it's important to acknowledge that all of these events were happening at once. It gets a little confusing. I felt it was important to talk a little bit about South Africa because South Africa, it's misrepresented. There are a lot of things about South Africa people still do not know about. And South Africa, we still had our own problems, just like the United States. America is one country, and then you have the states in the country. Africa is a huge continent, double the size of the United States. Okay, it's huge. People assume America is bigger than Africa, but Africa actually is indeed much, much, much bigger. And in Africa, you have places like countries like Ghana and Nigeria and South Africa and Swaziland and Kenya. And there are a whole bunch of other countries, Zimbabwe. It's like all these countries, it does feel, when I was living there, I have to say it does feel like those countries are actually states, but it's not the case. The countries are actually their own independent countries. It's like, that's what it is. It's just interesting, like America sees it differently. Things were constructed differently here than it was in overseas, like South Africa or Africa. So people just need to bear in mind that there are so many differences, and the understanding of history here is a completely different understanding of history over there. And it's just it's a melting pot. The world now is considered a melting pot. We as humans are no longer just one gene. We have genes from all over the world. I might have lighter skin, but we definitely have Khoi, as I said before. We definitely have Asian. We definitely have a little bit of European, probably from my dad's side, maybe a little bit from my mom's side, I'm not too sure. But we're like a mixed group of, it's called, like I said, the term, there's a South African singer that's getting into a little bit of hot water right now because she's claiming that she is what she is, and she's absolutely correct for what she is saying. But the United States is having, Tyler Lorre is getting a little bit of a hot water from the United States for what she had said. She is absolutely right for saying it because overseas the word is used differently than it is used here. I'm not going to say it because I've had problems, so I'm not going to get into that discussion. Like I said in my other thing, it's for somebody else. She's not afraid or ashamed to say it. Kudos on her because it gives her the power to bring up this very, very important topic to discuss. There's always going to be an argument and a confusion on the subject. It's just people not understanding cultural differences from both Africa and South Africa, or not Africa understands it, but the United States and South Africa. I think even my mom had to call herself black, where in fact there were other terms that should have been used for who she is as a person, as somebody coming from South Africa. So she's never used it in the United States, and I won't use it in the United States. I call myself mixed. I am mixed. I'm not white. White is when somebody is purely European. People can see me for what they are, but I know who I am, and it's wintertime, and I'm a little bit lighter than I usually would be in the United States than I would be overseas in South Africa. Okay, so that's one of the discussion. The next thing is Usher's performance was fantastic. I do think that they did need to work a little bit on the sound engineering. Rihanna's last year was really good. Nobody had any hiccups or issues, but the sound with the speaker was, not the speaker, but the microphone, his microphone, we couldn't hear him. So that was my big takeaway from, it was a great show, visually it was fantastic, but the sound needed to be worked on a lot more than it did, which is a big problem. You need to have, the sound engineers need to be tight with the musicians or else it will fall apart. So I'm sure people have picked up that there were some unusual things happening there. We think Jay-Z, I don't know if my husband, we think Jay-Z's group had something to do with the sound engineering, I'm not sure. Beyonce is going to release a new album. So there are all these things going on at once. It's just everything in one. And I suppose it's also connected to the music too, right? So it's just one of those things. And yeah, that's it. I think that's just what I wanted to talk about today. I think Alicia Keys did a fantastic job. I'm literally just talking about it today because I feel like, you know, everybody wants to hear the news and how I interpret the news, and I feel music was a big factor of this whole month. This has been a month of music, like big time. Like everything's happened at once here. So yeah, and that's basically it. My funny Valentine, sweet funny Valentine. Just a little bit of the My Funny Valentine. So I know I should be talking a little bit more about the music theory. I may start doing that. It's just been a very interesting month. Trying to get everything in one. It's just a fascinating kind of, how do you put everything together, which is what I think my YouTube channel is, because I'm trying to also incorporate all the other factors into it. Looks like I will start teaching art classes again. For now with one student. I was teaching art classes years back, and also in South Africa. People were more interested in the music, so I switched over from art to music again. And it's just a yo-yo for me. I kind of dabble with both. The art, when I was teaching music for students, the art I would actually incorporate between like breaks. So the student would like practice or work on the music, and then they take a few moment break and we do art, and then we go back into the music again, because music is very technical. I mean, it's your brain needs to be focused, and if you're tired, you just can't function. So the art is like the relaxing, it relaxes you into kind of focusing on something else and then back into the whole process. So we're gonna do some art classes, and yeah, looks like I do need to do a little bit more in the Fiverr. I think Fiverr, I need to go back and check what's going on my links because it's very interesting. Anyway, that's a roundup. I feel like all of these celebrations and these historical moments, I do feel as if they all need to be in separate months. I think all of these months and all of these things happening in one month is a little much to actually handle, even for myself, because you can't remember what are you doing right, what are you doing wrong, how are people going to react to certain things. It's just a whole confusing month. And for me, like, confusion is the last thing I need for like anything for that matter. So like, if we could just separate these holidays from Black History Month and Valentine's Day and the Grammys and the NFLs and Chinese New Year's, that would be wonderful. It's just so many things going on. How can anybody remember what to talk about? I was confused as to what to talk about. I don't know what to talk about. There are many things. And my husband's not Chinese. He's actually Cambodian. So we celebrate through other people's celebrations. So we don't really celebrate Chinese New Year's. We celebrate it because some people in his family married into people who are Chinese, which is understandable. So I think his mom sort of kind of celebrates it in her own way. Cambodian New Year's is close to the Japanese Cherry Blossom Festival, which is coming up a little farther down along the way. I think maybe April or May. I can't remember the day, but that's coming up. That's like another thing completely. So it's just the recap of what I feel probably needed to be talked about. It's just so many things going on at once, and that whole question of South Africa and that word, people are just losing their marbles about how South Africa uses the word versus America. And I think it's just a different culture. People see it differently. And yeah, it's just one of those things. And some people like to be called it because it's what they are. And other people are concerned about it because of what might have happened in the United States or did happen in the United States. So the meaning, literally lost in translation. The meanings are different. They're just totally different. It's not the same type of meaning. So I'm not going to use it. It starts with a C. Spelt differently, two different spellings. One is British, the other is American. And that's basically it for today. Thank you very much, and I will speak to you guys in the next one. Arigatou gozaimashita, matashita sayonara, and then jane bye-bye. Once again, my name is Cinta. Join me for more either chats or talking a bit about music, and then some history and a little bit of news. This is exactly what I'm working on, is that I'm kind of trying to be cognizant of everybody's needs, what needs to be discussed, what are the things that are happening in the time now. So thank you again, and I will speak to you guys in the next one. Bye.